Alright, and now we're moving on to a predator that everyone hates. Now, you could argue that most people on this show are hated, but Clifford Wallach is the most hated. He is quite possibly the worst person to ever be on this show. Not the worst predator or the most dangerous, but just the worst person. If you don't know who Clifford Wallach is, he was caught in the Fort Myers, Florida sting. And he did something that boggles my mind, that is so inherently horrible that it stands out in a show about horrible people. But thank you to Capasso for uploading this 3 years ago. Much appreciated. And let's hop right into it.
Yeah, looks like he's gonna park on the street. Can you hear me, Dale?
He gets out and goes to the rear passenger side, and we think maybe he's gonna get beer, pizza, stuff that we see these guys bring all the time. Instead, he grabs the hand of his 5-year-old son and leads him out of the car and up the driveway.
Right there makes him one of the worst people ever on this show. He brought his 5-year-old son to this. I don't know what his intent was with that. It might have just been the fact that his wife was at work. But it's horrible, and I do hope that his son is doing good. Thankfully, I don't think we know who the kid is, who he grew up to be, and it should stay that way. No one should ever reach out and try to contact him. That'd be wrong. But I do sincerely hope that he is in a good spot today. This was, about 20 years ago. So this kid is probably about 25, 26 years old now. But Wallik, the fact that he did this makes him a horrible person. And his wife never left him because of this. They actually ended up having a second child. The wife chose Clifford Wallach, who showed up to the house where the 14-year-old was with their 5-year-old son, and chose Wallik. She is just as bad as him. Yeah, yes, she didn't show up, but she obviously was okay with it, and hell, might have even supported it. But let's just keep watching this, shall we?
Oh no, he brought his son with him. He's got his child with him.
Apparently, the mother of the child, his wife, was working that day. He was in charge of the child and figured he'd just bring him along. And there was a collective gasp that you could hear in the house.
He's going up to the front door and he has his child with him.
Go around to the back. This door doesn't open.
He's one of these guys who had a very short online chat, but then on the phone is graphic about what he wants to do. And he has this conversation with Dell, who's posing as the 14-year-old boy.
Making the turn, coming in the back door, coming through, walking into the living room.
Look at that fat piece of shit. I'm allowed to say that I'm fat. Look at that, man. Look at that shitty person right there. That waddles inside. Fucking scumbag.
And so I'm thinking, all right, how do I handle this?
I don't even really have much to add for this segment, this section.
And I walk out, and he's startled. I got to tell you something, and I'm going to tell you just straight up right now. I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC. Okay. We're doing a story on adults eating children, and since you have your child here, I'm not going to pursue this.
Okay.
But I think you know what you were doing here, don't you?
No, I was just doing to take some inclusion.
Take a boy out to lunch you met on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
My point.
Clifford is just, he's so, I was just going to take someone out to lunch. Like, what do you mean, man? Sorry, didn't mean to unpause it there. Like, what do you mean, bro? What are you trying to even, come up with as an excuse? Oh, I was just going to take this minor from this house who was unaccompanied by any of their guardians while I also have my child with me after we had a salacious chat? What are you doing?
I think it'd be best if you just went ahead and left.
Yeah, I agree. I'm never gonna do this again.
I'm never going to do this again. Why would you think to say that? Why would you need to say that? Is it because you know it was wrong? Like, I obviously you know it's wrong. When we see him on the ground and a little bit sobbing like a little bitch, we're going to see. But it's this guy. He's genuinely, I think, the worst person ever caught in this show. And Chris, at the time, recognized it. The crew recognized it. The police, everyone recognized at the time that this is quite possibly the worst person they will ever get on this show.
And of course, Frag is talking to the police saying, you know, this has got to be a different sort of arrest.
Rob, we're going to send this guy out. We're not going to interview him because he got his kid.
Sir, right there. You come here. You come here. Let go of the child.
As gently as the female officer scooped him up, he still had to see his father get arrested.
Please give me my son, please.
Please give me my son, please. Why do you want your son here right now? Why do you immediately call out to see him? It's such a low... Ooh. Please just give me my son?
His father get arrested.
Please give me my son, please.
Why? You're a horrible person, bro, and you want your kid to see you arrested for a heinous crime? Dude's a fucking shitbag. He's trying to use his kid as like the classic, oh, let me see my kid. But he's not a victim here. He's not trying to, say goodbye to his kid or anything. He's trying to use it for sympathy points. Dude is a horrible, horrible individual. And him on the ground, just let me see my son, agitates me to no end.
Please have my son, please.
He says it fucking again.
You gotta remember that these guys...
This pack of smokes. Dude definitely smokes Camels.
Other investigations with me in some of the darkest parts of the world.
I can only imagine how that was for the child. Obviously, it's a horrible situation for the kid to be in, and I truly hope that he is in a good spot now. But Clifford brought that child to a horrible point in their life, and he does not deserve any sympathy. I don't know what Clifford is up to right now. We're going to go over that a little bit later. I know a little bit about his past time on TCAP, and he doesn't feel any remorse for it. He doesn't feel bad. He made a post online several years ago stating like he did nothing wrong. He clearly feels no remorse for this. When he said he wasn't going to do it again to Chris, that was just a little lie to try to make himself seem good in the eyes of some stranger.
And expose some of the most tragic things you can see happen to kids and people. And they were just blown away. I mean, some of these guys were in tears.
You gotta put your seatbelt on, all right, buddy?
Put your seatbelt on, buddy. You gotta drive for a 2-minute ride, okay?
Based upon his interview with police, the chat log, and everything else, it doesn't seem like he was going to involve the child in any sex act. It seemed like he was going to set the kid up in a room with a DVD and go do whatever he was going to do with this 14-year-old in another location of the house. During his interview with police, he suggested that it was the lack of intimacy in his marriage that drove him to do this.
So he says lack of intimacy in his marriage is the reason he acted this way. This cop looks kind of funny, I'm sorry. But the lack of intimacy in your marriage, you're married to a woman, and then she ends up finding that you try to plow a 14-year-old boy, so you're either secretly gay or you're bi. I'm not saying anything bad about that. But you blame your wife. Is it because you don't love your wife? But then you two stayed together, and I can only hope to God that child was put with like the grandparents or foster parent, maybe not foster, or like to the godparents or something, because this dude is a shitbag. He makes me mad. He makes me mad.
Pending that, relatives have
What do you say?
to see if his marriage that drove him to do this. There was a state investigation to see if the boy in any way had been abused. Pending that, relatives have told us that at first the boy was living with the mother, then the boy went to go live with other relatives because the mother took the father back in. And
that is atrocious. And the fact that the family probably reached out to NBC to just kind of let them know what happened, and the fact the wife stayed is horrible. Horrible. The wife supported Clifford's actions this day by sticking with him, by abandoning their child, and later on having a second one with him. Just proves to show that she supported this behavior, and she is a horrible individual.
And that was the situation.
Photofigs, Clifford Wallach.
All right. First, we're going to go over his pages, plural, on the NSOPW, which is the National Public Sex Offender website. He has 3 pages, one for Florida, New York, and Connecticut. The Florida one is the oldest because he was convicted in Florida. So, and it's the last updated. Yeah, we can see last image was 2020. Oh, he has a tattoo on his ass. Alright. Neat. But there's not much interest in here. It doesn't even list a vehicle. It does list his crime, and his address is listed as out of state. We know that he moved to New York. It even says here Sullivan County. And if we go to the New York page, that's where he is now. I don't know where he was when he was in New York. Like specifically, I know Sullivan County and whatever the Florida page says. But he's listed as a Tier 2 in New York. I don't know if he's still listed as Tier 2 in Connecticut and Florida. But here is his list. Male, 14 years old, convicted November 15th of 07. And it does list 2 vehicles here, but these are obviously our New York plates. They have the same plate number. Weird. But he has a BMW X5 and a Volkswagen Passat. So, not exactly the cheapest cars. And this was last updated 2024. He had 2021 Passat, It might be like a lease car or something. But this is the most recent photo of him. You're going to see these on the side. And then his Connecticut page, which is where he is now. He has that tattoo on his right arm that states, New York's finest, man with a gun. I don't know what that entails. But he also has a tattoo on his back, which it says lost. I don't know if that's in reference to like a TV show, the TV show Lost, or if like he had it removed. I don't know. But it's funny. It says it's on his back on the Connecticut one, and then Florida it says butt. Yeah, it says on his butt. So I don't know. Just a little neat piece of fact for you. Piece of fact. Why did I sound so weird? But then his address confuses me a bit. Because it's listed as 426 Emmett Street in Bristol, Connecticut. And I look that up, and there is no 426 Connecticut Street. Emmett Street in Bristol, Connecticut. At first I thought it was this apartment building, but this is listed as 421. And it also says apartment G. Yeah, apartment G. And these are numbered, 4 or 5. If it was G and like the number corresponding to G is 7. So I don't think it's this. I've tried scooching down here a bit, and there might be more apartments on this side, or these might just be back doors. I don't know. But it's also, this is 421. And the address says 426 on the RSO. So it confuses me a little bit. And then I thought maybe it's down this place. No, that's 410. Okay. Maybe it's down this way a bit. No, that's 420 and 430. Now, maybe that it's meant to be 420 through 430. So I scooch down here, and the Google Maps car must have just turned around because right about here, yeah, it goes back to '07. So it's kind of pointless. Like you can't even read the numbers on the mailbox. Like you can't make anything out. So I scooch back to the main road, and I shoot up here, thinking maybe there's something. Could it be this? I don't think so, because this is 371. Now, okay, 371, and then down here is 410, and then down here is 421, and then down here is 420 through 430. I don't exactly understand. What is that? That's a club. Like I don't exactly understand the road number, the house numbers on this stretch of road, but he lives somewhere in this area of Connecticut. And just so we get a little piece of trivia for you, we can see Bristol, Connecticut is right around here. And if we zoom out, Fairfield, which is where the Fairfield sting was, is down in this area. So he wasn't that far from Fairfield, but he's kind of close to another sting location, which I think is just a little funny. All right, so also Clifford Wallach, back in 2020, FloridaActionCommittee.org is a site where people can complain that they got shit on for making their mistakes in life. But Clifford Wallach actually commented on here. He says he was also entrapped by a sting in '06 and was made an example of from the state. Out of 34 people arrested, I was one of the few that went to prison. I wonder why. And he says his mistake was hiring a lawyer that wasn't part of the Good Old Boys Club in Fort Myers. But, I feel like there might be another a detail you're leaving out. Like, I can only imagine what detail you're leaving out here, Clifford. But then he says he lost everything after prison. He said he lost his children. I wonder why. I wonder if this statement here and the earlier statement about one of the few that went to prison correlate at all. If there's any reason to that. He said he lost his family. Everything I owned was gone. His wife stayed with him. I don't know what that noise is that my computer fucking makes, dude. It's been making that since like 2018 when I got this fucking thing. There it is again. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. Anyways. Everything I owned was gone. To this day, 15 years later, I am still suffering. No one will hire me, and I feel like I'm stuck in this state. Not long after this, he left to go to New York. The prison was a nightmare. Being abused by the DOC police was worse than the abuse I took from other inmates. Why, if even the other inmates bully you, there's typically a reason to it. Like, yeah, prison is this horrible thing, filled with a lot of bad characters and stuff. But if you're kind of agreed upon by even the employees and the other inmates that you are a bad person, you are a bad person. Like, I didn't need that to prove it. But, at the same time, it's like, it's pretty fucking simple, my guy. They kept moving me from camp to camp until finally I was able to be placed at a protective custody camp. I have no idea what that is. My guess is that's a prison just for sex offenders. The whole ordeal was a nightmare. Not only was I entrapped, classic case of fucking retardation there. He wasn't entrapped. But since this was done by a vigilante group in Dateline NBC, it was run over and over again, especially during my trial. I ran out of money during my appeal and suffered. Since being released, I have held few jobs until they found out my prison stay by the vigilante group and subsequently fired. So does he not disclose who he is beforehand? Like, he goes for a job interview and then he doesn't say why he is a felon. Every job I've ever worked, on the application, it asks if you have any felonies. Usually they're looking for like felonies involving like money, or usually sex crimes. But like, do you just say you don't and then they find out that you lied? Like, I know a lot of places around me that will hire sex offenders because it's typically like a factory or a warehouse where there aren't children, and where you can go without any temptations. If there's a way to go after the state and all of the money makers in the prison sting industry, count me in. So he doesn't feel any remorse. He doesn't think what he did was wrong. He thinks he was entrapped, which he wasn't. He showed up willingly. He willingly committed the crime. And 99% of people that say they weren't entrapped and were just fucking stupid. Simple as that. Simple as that. They were just fucking stupid. Clifford. But this website is a pretty funny read. So if you're ever bored, just scroll through it, see what people say, because a lot of these fucking idiots have a lot of stupid shit to say. And it doesn't look like I can click on like a profile or anything. Like, you call yourselves the Florida Action Committee, which is a very broad statement. Like, that could be anything, like Action Committee for the conservation of the wildlife, like that. Yeah, I'd support that. Or Florida Action Committee for the removal of invasive species, I'd support that. But you call yourself the FAC, Florida Action Committee, I've said that too many times, and you claim that this is your goal? Like, why?
If you think the sex offender registry is keeping you safe, think again. What if I told you it's mostly a political scam and it's putting real safety at risk? That big, scary list, 63% of people on Florida's sex offender registry aren't even in the community. And get this.
Typically because they've moved out. Like, oh, a lot of these people on this list aren't in the community. Okay, then why do you care if they're on the list? 2, their crime was probably committed in Florida. Or 3, they probably have some relation to Florida. They might have a second home there, and then they have to have it in Florida. Or they might work in Florida and they live in Georgia and they just cross the border to go to work.
Even in the community. And get this, 95% of sexual offenses are committed by someone not on the registry.
Okay, then those people need to be added to the registry.
Not on the registry. What's even more shocking is that 93% of child victims already know their offender. These aren't conspiracy theories, this is straight from government reports. Yet lawmakers keep pushing the registry. Why? Well, it's simple. Votes and funding. If it saves one child, they say. But the truth is, it's failing thousands. Real safety comes from prevention, education, and action, not a broken system that gives people a false sense of security. It's time to stop wasting money on myths and start protecting real lives.
Okay. And one way to protect that is to be able to go on a registry and see, how close is this house I'm looking to buy to someone on the registry. These people are fucking stupid. And here we are on Twitter. They don't exactly post much. They've only posted like 4 things. Oh, no, they post a bunch. Okay. So they post the same image linking to the same. Oh god, it says their names when they sign. Oh my god. I'm sorry, this is more of a rabbit hole about the Florida Action Committee. So they're a 2,500 member nonprofit public safety organization that advocates for the rights of all persons, not including the victims, I guess. Included in our membership are people forced to register as sexual offenders in the U.S. Approximately 1 million people in the U.S. are forced to register. It is a debilitating label that elicits a very negative social reaction. Why does it elicit this? And causes extreme harm to the person wearing the label and anyone associated with them. Largely, I don't think it really affects anyone associated with them. In Florida, all persons forced to register are required to do so for life. and are all broadcast on a state-sanctioned publicly accessible and Google indexed website along with their name, pictures, address, and other identifier. They remain on the registry even if they move out of state, move out of the country, or die. 2/3 of the people on the Florida's RSO do not even live in Florida communities. Okay, they say that like that's like a shocker, but they just explained why that could be up above. Like, if they move out of state, move out of the country, or they die. Like, okay, yeah. Okay. I really don't see what these guys are trying to say here. I know what they're trying to say. I don't know why they're trying to say it. Like, why do you want this information to not be available? They don't actually say why they want it not available to the public. Like, they say extreme, like, negative social reaction is probably, like, their only point. But it's like, public humiliation was one of the most effective deterrents for most crimes in basically all of human history, in my eyes. Like, we used to march people down the street saying shame, and we used to tar and feather them in the public square, in the town square. You know, if we brought that back, I feel like crime rate might drop. Maybe a negative social reaction is valid here. And maybe that's part of the point. Maybe that's half the reason this shit is out there, so you can find out who it is. Alright, next up we are moving on to the chat log. Now, the chat log is a thankfully pretty short one. It's barely like a page and a half, 2 pages tops. And this chat took place all the way back in April 23rd of 2006. But Clifford, as always with these guys, they message first. Clifford says, "Hi, Jason here." Now, he obviously gave a fake name just, for safety's sake. On his end, safety's sake. But Jason's an odd one to go with. Decoy says, "What's up? I'm Tony, 14 male, Fort Myers." "Nice to meet you, Tony. How is it going, bro?" "It's going. You looking for fun or long term?" "Damn." Within 1, 2, 3, within 4 messages, he's already asking about what are they doing. That's when the decoy asks back how old Clifford is, and Clifford says 33. But then Clifford asks if the decoy is gay or bi. And the decoy responds that they're gay, that they're 5'9", 130 pounds. And Clifford says 5'7", 190. Now, he is not 190 pounds when he walks into that steakhouse. Dude, it was minimum like 250. Alright? Man was about 250 lbs. I don't know why he said 190. Like, you're going to show up to the house where you're going to violate a 14-year-old, and you're going to be off by like 60 pounds. Like, not only are you committing a crime, you're also just capping. You're just lying, bro. And at 2:41, they were talking about where they're going to meet, and this is when the decoy says you can come to my house. Then Clifford then says, Jesus. Clifford then mentions, "I don't like typing. Can I give you a call?" The decoy sends the number. Clifford sends a picture, and Clifford sends a photo. He then asks if the decoy is home alone. Decoy responds yes, and asks, "Can you go out?" And that's when the decoy asks, "Cool pic. Who's the kid?" "That yours?" "Yeah." His chat log is pretty quick. I don't think his recordings are out there, because I think it was the police that made the call. I don't think it was actually, PJ. I'm pretty sure it was the police that made these calls. They didn't record any of them. But the verifier, whoever was chatting with him, I don't know what that fucking sound is, man. But whoever was chatting with him said that the kid is screaming in the background, that he likes oral, likes to give and receive, so he's probably done this before. Might be his first time with a minor, but he's definitely met people online before. He says his wife is out till midnight, and wants to be discreet and worried about neighbors. So this was a very quick chat. It ended at 2:53 and it started at 2:24. So 29 minutes, I think. God, I hope I'm right. 29 minutes. Yeah, should be 29 minutes. He found someone and got the address within 29 minutes. His chat log is so short that there's not really much substance to it. It's not even really necessarily a vile chat. I mean, obviously, the connotations that you can derive from this chat are bad, but he doesn't discuss anything atrocious in it, so it's kind of a boring chat. But we went over it. You can see it only took 29 minutes for this man to become a felon. Sorry about that tangent into like the Florida Action Committee, whatever the fuck they want to be called. Those guys interest me in the fact that Clifford is connected with those guys. I find to be a little humorous. Because the committee more seems to be, they want to get rid of it because it doesn't work, while Clifford wants to get rid of it because he's on it. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. But if you made it this far, thank you for listening to my rambles. Be sure to like and subscribe. Bigger number, bigger, better. And thank you. Have a good one.